as a man who's been involved with our college football coverage and NFL draft since 2006, but nothing compares to the day he was on the sideline when I was an honorary captain at the University of Michigan. Todd McShay joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Right, Todd? That's up there, top 5 for you on that day.
Very memorable. Very memorable. I tell you what, man, you got up there, though. You've had some ups. I was surprised. I did not see that coming. Mm-hmm. You got, I think, full hand on the Go Blue sign, and I think the guys in the booth, and I told them, Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, my guys, they just did not give you enough credit for your leak.
Well, I mean, Todd, you've been in the combine. You know what it's like to go jump at that vertex. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking 38, 39. Yeah. I'm just going to stick to the 40 best I can right now. But you were on the sideline for a lot of Michigan games this year. So you and Steve and Brian did a great job this year. Now I'm looking forward to the talent evaluation portion of the calendar that you're helping kick off here on the Rich Eisen Show. Deshaun Watson, why don't I hear him as a top number or the number one quarterback prospect coming out of college this year, Todd?
He's a tough evaluation. Just to be completely honest with you, and I've watched a bunch of games from last year. I think 4 games evaluated last year. Another probably 5 or 6 so far this year because we had them twice during the season and preparing for this game. There's a lot of inconsistency with his accuracy, and there are some decision-making issues. The turnovers were a problem. But then on the flip side, I mean, what a competitor. And what a leader, and how tough mentally and physically. If you had never seen him play before, all you had to do was watch Monday night to see the toughness and see, how he delivers in the clutch. And when the biggest moments are there and the lights are the brightest, he seems to shine the most. So he's got the arm. He has the size, clearly has mobility. He's a great worker and has all the intangibles that you could ever ask for. And that's why when you compare and contrast the pros and the cons, that's why it's such a difficult evaluation. I think when it's all said and done, I'll probably wind up with a second-round grade on him, but it won't surprise me if a team, with the need that we have at that position, with how many teams in the first round will need a quarterback, I'm sure a quarterback coach will sit there and bang on the table, offensive coordinator, and say, we can develop this guy. He has the tools to work with. Let's bring him in and make him our guy. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I think he belongs, like I said, on day 2, but I think there's a chance he winds up in a weak quarterback class, winds up going somewhere. It wouldn't surprise me at all in the top 35 picks.
Day 2, huh? So you don't think Deshaun Watson sitting there in Philadelphia is going to hear his name on Thursday night? You think he's going to be sitting in that?
I think there's a chance. I mean, let's put it this way. I have a second-round grade on him right now. A lot of guys in the league I've talked to have said 3rd, 4th-round grade. Now, that obviously changes as we get closer and GMs and coaches get involved more in the process, and you start to look at the team needs, and quarterbacks always get bumped up there. And again, Mitch Trubisky from North Carolina just made the decision that he's going to be part of this 2017 class. Deshaun Kaiser from Notre Dame, he's got a lot of work to do, but physically he has all the tools as well. But those are probably the top 2 quarterbacks, and Watson's right there. So you're talking about guys that, Trubisky only had 13 college starts.
That's it.
Mark Sanchez had 16, and we, knocked that decision for him leaving school early. So there are weaknesses to holes to pick, if you will, with all of these quarterbacks, and it's an interesting class, but I would not, by any stretch of the imagination, call it a good class of quarterbacks.
Todd McShay joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Why has Trubisky suddenly shot up so many draft boards in just his 13 starts at North Carolina? Why are so many people smitten with him, Todd?
The accuracy is there. I think he's probably the most accurate of these quarterbacks. He had a really good season, especially the first, I would say, 2/3 of the season. He's got the measurables you look for. He can move. He's not, I wouldn't call him a dangerous runner, but he can get move inside the pocket, get away from pressure, extend plays, and completed almost 70% of his throws, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He put up some big numbers this year. But again, you worry about the body of work, the game experience with him. Just not a lot of reps And are you bringing in a guy that is going to need a couple of years of developing and training, going from that offense and adjusting to an NFL-style offense and just not having a lot of game starts under his belt?
Plus, he's got to tuck that ball when he's around the umpire, right, Todd? 5 points of pressure around the ref.
That's a good point.
You know, the eye in the sky doesn't lie on that one. So if you and the rest of your friends in the talent evaluation community could have a draft based off of the national championship game players, that's it. Clemson and Alabama's players have a draft. It doesn't matter that they're NFL ready right now. Who would be the first number one? Who would be the first overall pick in that draft based on the players that we saw on Monday night?
I would say Jonathan Allen, defensive lineman. I say lineman because he can play a 5-technique defensive end or 3-technique defensive tackle, depending on the three-man front, 4-man front base defense that you're running. So he has versatility. That Washington tape, he was solid in the national championship game, but he was absolutely dominant most of the year, and I thought his best tape was the Washington tape that I've seen so far, at least. He just completely dominated and disrupted the whole flow of that offensive line, taking on 2-3 blockers and then disengaging and going and making plays. He has the size at 6'3", almost 300 pounds, the quickness and the power that you look for a premier interior defensive lineman. After that, Reuben Foster, the inside linebacker from Alabama, would probably be number 2 on the list. I've got him as the 5th overall player, even though he's an inside linebacker. The guy flies. I mean, he is all over the field and is just powerful at the point of attack and can be a 3-down linebacker in the NFL. Then Mike Williams, I would say, would probably be 3rd, the receiver from Clemson, because just how physical he is. He pushes around DBs. You saw the other night, he wasn't 100%, left the game for a little bit, winds up with 8 catches and was critical in that fourth quarter.
Terrific.
Making some big plays. So those would be the top 3. And then even Tim Williams, the outside linebackers, got a chance to be somewhere late first, second round. Same for offensive tackle Cam Robinson. Alabama tight end O.J. Howard is another guy that could go in the first round. And outside linebacker Ryan Anderson is another that could wind up in the top 40, 45 picks. So it's crazy. These two teams, I think it's 16 or 17 players they had drafted last year combined. And they each had 4 defensive players go in the first 2 rounds. And to reload the way they did, wind up playing in the national championship game, and this year probably have somewhere around 15, 16 players go on to get drafted again. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing the stockpile of talent that is, for both of these programs, Alabama and Clemson.
A couple of more minutes with Todd McShay from the Worldwide Leader in Sports. I didn't hear Boulware's name, Ben Boulware. That kid was all over the place. Where do you think? I
know. He's a great college football player who's going to have to, probably as a day 3 pick, come in and contribute on special teams and find a way to hang around and eventually maybe push for some playing time on the defensive side. But I think he's only 5'11". He is 240 pounds, but he's got some stiffness and he doesn't run all that well. So he's one of those guys who's not going to fare well during his workouts, and he'll wind up getting knocked down a little bit. But again, I think he's a day 3 pick and a guy that has the right mentality, toughness, and love of the game to hang around the roster and contribute on special teams.
Now, I know, because, again, I've seen your reporting on Jabril Peppers throughout the year, being a Michigan guy, watching your broadcasts. You did a handful of those games. You keep mentioning Deion Buchanan as a comp for him. So you're talking about what, middle first round, late first round maybe for Peppers in the draft?
I think somewhere in the middle of the first round. I think, it's funny because I talk to guys in the league and some guys absolutely love him. And then I talked to some other guys, and they think I've completely overrated him, and that they always point to the fact that he doesn't turn the ball over. Not, I think only 1 career interception, not a ton of passes broken up, and at his size, can he wind up playing the same type of role, which was kind of a will linebacker, an outside linebacker / nickel guy, who was at his best when he turned him loose up the field as a pass rusher and a disruptive run defender, and did a great job of keeping off of blocks. But the guys that don't like him as much wonder, is he going to be able to play that same type of role in the league because he's so undersized? And Buchanan, when he was coming out, was a safety, an in-the-box safety who was about 207, 208 pounds, and has gone on to play well at Arizona and really adjusted, like I said, to that outside linebacker role for them. But in today's league, the reason I like him so much, you need versatile players that can be on the field all three downs, that can cover as well as can rush. The smartest, and has the highest football IQ of any player he's coached outside of Andrew Luck, which is pretty impressive.
And then, are you hearing anything in the talent evaluation community about Fournette and McCaffrey and their decisions to not play, and that somehow, in some way, counting against them in any way?
No.
Good.
Everyone I've talked to is just
good.
You look past it. You know, no one wants it to become a trend or a bunch of guys, but there were over 5,000 players that were part of bowl games this year, the 41 or 42 bowl games, whatever it was. And 3 guys really stood out and or came out and said that they weren't playing because they didn't want to get injured and preparing for the draft or whatever their exact excuse was. So it is big a deal that was made out of it while we were preparing and getting ready for all these bowl games. It's not that big of an epidemic. And I think if they were worried about being injured, they were smart. And I think they're going to both wind up in the first round somewhere. This is a loaded running back class. I mean, Fournette is a top 10 talent. I think Dalvin Cook is there, just behind him. Deontay Foreman from Texas is another underrated player. I think will start to rise and could become a first-round pick. And McCaffrey, like I said, as well. So you're talking about 4 guys right there that could wind up in the first round with the running back position, which everyone been saying how devalued it is.
Yeah, that Orange Bowl you personally eyeballed with Cook. He was unbelievable. I mean, that 3rd and forever play, that he changed the game. That 70-yard run changed the game right there.
3rd and 13 or 14.
Forever.
And he just takes off. And that's what he can do. I mean, that's what makes him special. It's
incredible.
Explosiveness.
Last one for you. Your best January 11th guess who number 1 overall is going to be. We won't hold you to it, but just
I'll go Myles Garrett, the pass rusher from Texas A&M. He's just such a difference maker. He's a freak athletically, and I think his best football is still ahead of him, and he was a great player at Texas A&M.
Todd, love having you on. Come back very soon, okay?
Absolutely. Love doing it, man.
Again, great season. Todd McShay at McShay13.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.